Right now I am owning and operating my own accounting virtual practice where I service social media influencers and small business entrepreneurs as my full-time role. So this is what I'm doing full-time in my business, and I still have my blog and my YouTube channel. But I basically consider myself like just an accountant in general. So I do tax services, I do accounting services, and then I also do like accounting, speaking, or blogging in general. Everything that I do is pretty much centered around accounting. And I don't have like a typical day in the life. I'm still figuring that out because it is something that I just started to do full time. But one of the best things about the roles that I have in accounting, between servicing clients and then just serving the community from like a social media standpoint, is when I can feel the difference that I'm making for people. So for a lot of my clients, this is something that they may have just started their business like a year ago. And when I started with them, they were, a few of them were in a loss position. They were brand new. They weren't really sure how to successfully run their business. And just to see the difference that I've been able to help them make by partnering with them, and just seeing their revenues grow and just seeing their bottom line grow, has just been it's just like I'm excited with them. So when I go over their reports with them every month, I'm like, oh my God, your sales, like you're killing it. And so that's something that is just very special to me, because I feel like I'm actually making a difference and they're not just like a number to me. And then the same with students, if they are reaching out to me, or if they're like, hey, I finally passed the CPA exam, things like that really are, they're special to me. I had someone tweet me the other day and say, whenever I'm ready to give up on taking the CPA exam, I just go back and watch your videos. And I'm like, oh, this is why I make them. So stuff like that really warms my heart. So whenever I feel like I literally am making a difference, then that's when I feel like my job is complete. My CPA journey has been a really long journey. So the path to get here was not super straightforward, but basically, I, of course, attended college, got my degree in accounting. So I got my bachelor's from Virginia Commonwealth University. And then I already had enough credits to sit for the CPA exam, because prior to my bachelor's, I had started with this online program that I didn't end up getting to finish. And so I had enough credits to sit. So immediately after graduation, I started studying. I started with audit, and then I took regulation, passed both of those. But then the whole process fell apart. I started working full time. I was working for a mid-sized firm in the tax practice. And it was really hard for me to balance studying for the CPA exam and just kind of getting used to being a full-time accountant. And so I started struggling to pass FAR. And in the time it took me to get FAR passed, reg and audit had expired. So I kind of had to start over. So I did the CPA journey for about a total of 3 years. I studied from 2016, and then I finished up in, I believe, August or July of 2019. So in that time, it was a very, very difficult process, but I just kind of made sure I stayed encouraged, continued to tell everybody that I was studying so that I would be held accountable, so that I couldn't secretly like quit. I always made sure that everybody knew that this was something that I was pursuing. And then, of course, working in the accounting profession, especially at a CPA firm, I was always encouraged to complete the CPA. And I'm so glad that I did. It took me forever, but it was absolutely worth it. I was a first generation college student. No one in my immediate family had successfully completed college. A couple people have gone, but even out of cousins, I have like 2 cousins that had actually gone to college and graduated. But as far as my immediate family, I was the first person to complete a college course and actually graduate with my degree. And so that made it a little bit difficult, because I didn't know what I was doing. There is a thing such as like doing college, and I didn't know how to do it. So I was learning as I went. And of course, I would call my mom anytime I like struggled or was like failing in a or doing, poorly in a class. And she didn't really know what advice to give me. She would just be like, I'm praying for you. I love you. You can do it. But there wasn't a lot of guidance. Some of it was really just leaning on my peers and my professors and just kind of some of the administrative staff. So groups like NABA and Beta Alpha Psi were really helpful, and just kind of leaning on community, but definitely difficult being the first generation. I absolutely never saw myself being in accounting. I say this all the time. I did not choose accounting. Accounting chose me. I feel like it's the way it's branded. Accounting is always branded in film or in media as like really old, like man with like just stacks of paper on his desk and really stressful and like suits and very stiff. And I don't identify as that. So it's not really trendy and hip and it doesn't sound cool. So it's certainly never anything that I thought I would have been into. But when I started, I believe I was still a freshman at VCU when I had to take my first accounting course because I was just general business at that point. I hadn't declared a major. I just knew I wanted it to be a business focus. And I just thought that the information was super important. And I was like, wow, I really like this. I had a very enthusiastic professor. And I felt like no matter what career path I take, this will be included. So I kind of need to know this stuff no matter what. I always assumed that I would end up as an entrepreneur, but I knew like I needed that business acumen. So I'm glad I chose accounting. It was definitely something that I feel like was right for me, but it was certainly not something that I saw myself doing forever. I would have really taken a lot of things a lot more seriously. And it wasn't that I didn't care about school, but as a high school student, I was pretty average because I never thought that I would be going to college anyway. That wasn't a part of my plan. I was a non traditional student. I didn't start at university until I was like 24, 23. So, I would have taken a lot more time and effort to understand the algebra courses that I kind of was like, oh, I'm never going to use this. And another thing that I would have really done is just worked a little harder on my GPA because again, it was just super average. I just did what was needed to get by because I never anticipated that I would go to college at all. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a businesswoman. And that was where my mindset was. I thought I had it already all figured out at like 17, 18.